Help me understand how the president of the United States is changing his tune or tone when they're investigating Alex Pretty, who we watched be murdered essentially on loop this week since it happened. What is going on, Mark?
Simone, you know exactly what's going on. The state investigated Emmett Till. You know, the state investigated the black citizens of Black Wall Street in the massacre, in the Tulsa massacre, right? We know what they're doing because this isn't new. The government is investigating the victim because they want to find a reason to say that he was asking for it, that the mother with a dog in her back seat and stuffed animals out of her in her glove compartment, that she was the aggressor, that the ICU nurse who was clearly trying to protect a woman who was being pepper sprayed and who was then thrown to the ground and was beaten, that he was the perpetrator. And we've seen this playbook before. It was a dark time in American history. And for those people who thought that we had moved beyond that dark time and that the federal government would no longer do this kind of thing, in those instances of state government, now the federal government, we haven't moved that far beyond. And yeah, there are court fights going on in all these places. And I'm proud to say my law firm and I were in those cases side by side with those states in every 24 of those jurisdictions, and that the Trump Department of Justice is 0 for 3. But we know when they can't win in court, they're going to resort to violence. We saw that on January 6th.
So on that point, and just as a coda to what you were just saying, this administration also went after the spouse of Renee Good because, well, why not investigate the spouse of someone you just killed? I think the question that keeps coming back to my mind, Mark, and we've talked about it before, is how is this playing in the important seats around the American kitchen table? We're seeing polling that's seemingly has some movement to it. We have rhetoric from Republicans, such as that rhetoric may say or sound, a certain way that gives some of the folks you referred to earlier, this good feeling, this yummy feeling that, oh, maybe they've turned a corner and now they're really on the right side of history. Let's wait on that because I'm not convinced. But what I am convinced that this is landing differently, and particularly the Pretty murder lands differently with the American people, and even more so than we saw with Renee Good. Maybe it's the combination of the two so close together, as Simone talked about, that arc back in the summer of 2020, where we saw so much violence inflicted upon young black citizens. How do you read it right now?
Look, I think this is a political disaster for the White House, and therefore it's a political disaster for Republicans in Congress. People need to not overthink this. The single most important reason why out of power parties tend to do well in presidential midterms is because the president's popularity tends to fall. Right. So Donald Trump being unpopular is the worst thing that could happen to Republicans in Congress. Now, they're not doing a particularly good job. Like, it seems to be that their approach is to just stand by him and defend him through the ridiculous. So they're not doing anything to try to distance themselves. But they're in a lot of political trouble. And I'm going to make a prediction here that goes pretty far out on a limb. I think it is not just the traditional swing states that where Republicans are going to have trouble. And I think it is not just even the battleground Senate states. I would start to look at some of these Mountain West states, some of these more libertarian, live free or die kind of places, which I know is New Hampshire. But the people in the West, they're not liking this rhetoric about, you carry a gun and you deserve it. They're not liking this, the civil liberties violations. And if I can add one more, Tom Emmer, who is one of the top Republicans in the House, he holds his seat in a red area in Minnesota, but he holds that seat in Minnesota. And he has been lockstep with this administration. So I don't think it's just the Susan Collinses are in trouble. I don't just think it is, the Dan Sullivans in Alaska who are in trouble. I actually think Tom Emmer is going to be in trouble, too.